Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for this episode of the Legends of Sport podcast. I'm your host, Andy Bernstein. With the 2026 baseball season underway, we collaborated with our friends at the newly revived Sport Magazine and PlayersTV for this week's interview with the legendary Orel Hershiser. My history with Orel goes back to almost the beginning of both our professional careers in the early 1980s. He was a young pitcher trying to make it with the Dodgers, and I became their team photographer in 1984. Everything came together for both of us during the epic 1988 season, with the Dodgers winning the World Series and Orel winning almost every possible award: the NLCS MVP, World Series MVP, Cy Young Award, and he set the Major League record by pitching 59 consecutive innings without allowing a run, breaking Don Drysdale's record. So much fun reminiscing about that epic season, including the Sport Magazine cover story featuring my photos of Orel. Orel had an 18-year Major League career with the Dodgers, Cleveland Indians, San Francisco Giants, and New York Mets, followed by a standout career in the broadcast booth. It was a thrill to be part of documenting Orel's legendary Dodgers career, and equally a thrill to chat with him on this week's episode. Big thanks to Orel for carving out time to chat with me on this episode, which we recorded at his Legends Attic in Claremont, California. Thanks to our friends Chris and Dave there for their help making this episode possible. Enjoy this episode with the legendary Orel Hershiser, and as always, I'll see you on the backside.
Well, it's a thrill to be here with the Bulldog himself, Orel Hershiser, in his Legends Attic. First of all, you and I go back to the beginning of time for me in my career. I started with the Dodgers in '84, right? You were drafted. What year were you drafted?
Drafted in '79.
Yeah.
My big league debut was September of 1983.
Right. Wow. Yeah, so we pretty much grew up in Dodger blue together. Yeah. I don't think you know that I come from a Dodger family back in the Brooklyn days.
Oh, my gosh.
And, I was born in '58.
Me too.
You were born in '50, so it was the same age?
6'7".
Yeah. And
that's how old we are now.
Family was mortified when the Dodgers moved, and the only team they hated worse than the Dodgers were the Yankees. That continues to this day.
Wow.
But then when I got the Dodger job, when Brenner calls me and he didn't offer me the job, he coerced me into the job at '84. Everything was fine. Dodger blue was back in the family.
Did you move from New York?
I moved from New York in '78 to go to school in the Art Center in Pasadena.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was a Mets fan growing up because he couldn't like that other team in the Bronx. And which was great because
I lived right below you,
Did you?
Yeah, Linda Vista, where you go up to the art school. I lived off of Media, overlooking the Rose Bowl.
Yes, I do remember that. And I remember going out after your big season in '88 and doing a photo shoot with you with all your paraphernalia and trophies and the whole. That was a lot of fun.
You lie like most photographers too when you always say one more shot and then there's like 50 more shots.
That's what
one
we
more
did.
pose, one more
countdown, 3, 2, 1. That was in the film days when we didn't know what we were going to get.
Okay.
So Orel, it's so great to be here, to be with you. We're also commemorating the sort of revival of the great Sport Magazine, and I brought this cover with me. Do you remember this cover from 1989?
Yeah, I do. A lot of magazines happened to cover the Dodgers at that time because we won the World Championship, and a few times they put me on the front.
Right. But this was a set-up shoot. This was not a game shot.
Right.
They Sports sent a photographer to shoot. Do you remember anything about that shoot? I believe it was done at Dodger Stadium because it looks like the background.
It looks like the background, yeah. I don't remember anything other than, they got the lighting right.
But you do have that Bulldog look in your face.
I think they probably asked for that, because when the game is not on, I didn't have a Bulldog face.
So you go to the inside here.
Yeah, my buddy.
You probably haven't seen this in a while, my friend.
Oh.
But look, I shot this photo.
Yeah.
You and Fernando. So you got to give
Where
me...
are we there? Are we in Candlestick? Where are we?
You know what? That's a great question. It could be Anaheim.
Yeah,
maybe?
it might be Anaheim for the Freeway Series.
What do you remember most about Fernando? The late Fernando Valenzuela.
Yeah, I think all the fun we used to have
Yeah.
off the camera, where we used to play hacky sack back in the Angel Clubhouse at Dodger Stadium. Now there's no Angel Clubhouse anymore, but and you know, he would carry around his lasso and he would trip guys and, you know, get their feet. I'm sure he got you at one time or another.
He probably did.
Everybody. He loved to take photographers, and when you guys were running from the third base side to the first base side in front of our dugout, he'd go, hey, you dropped something, even though you didn't drop anything, and make you come back. And then the umpire would get mad at you because you didn't get in your camera well in time. But really the fun-loving spirit of Fernando. Of course, you remember, you know, Fernando Mania in 1981 and 8 shutouts in a row or whatever he did. Unbelievable ability on the field. Great hitter. Could have probably played a position every day.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's really more the personal side. I grew up with him in San Antonio, Texas in AA baseball.
Okay.
And I used to drive him to and from the park. And on the way home, we'd always have to stop and get some chicken and a 6-pack of Budweiser for him or something. So
How was his English back then?
he always knew way more English than he let on.
Okay.
He always knew way more. But I think back then it was very short as far as the number of words that he knew. But he knew enough to go to the bathroom and to eat.
And he knew Tommy's, let's say, selected language when he got to the mound.
Oh, yeah. It was, Well, Tommy and swear words were synonymous at times, especially when we were losing.
Yeah.
So I would take a pitch clicker. We had the pitch counter back then, a little thing that you stick, and I would always bring it into the meetings when I knew we were going to get aired out and see how many clicks we got.
He probably loved that.
You know,
I have to tell you that I hadn't planned to talk about this, but you know, the photo well next to the Dodger dugout by the on deck circle, literally there's like a half wall between the photographer and the managers. It's right there now, of course. You know, it's a little bit wider, but
when
back
he
then,
yelled, you get sprayed on.
I had to move. There were a couple of times I could not. I mean, he was yelling stuff at the umpire, and I grew up in New York. I had never heard those words before.
More than a sailor.
It was just like a whole fleet of sailors.
He would always get on like Frank Pulley and all the different umpires.
So, Orel, this photo was taken in '89 to preview the '89 season.
Did you take that?
I didn't take it.
That was a sport.
Yeah, somebody
photographer
sent.
at the time.
They sent somebody to shoot it. Yeah. So, coming off of '88, with everything you accomplished, including, of course, the Dodgers winning the World Series, how much pressure did you feel in '89?
Well, in '89, that offseason, my elbow had scarred down from all the innings and all the work the year before. So I didn't even start opening day in '89. I started the second game.
Yeah.
And we had won the World Championship. I had been to the last Reagan State dinner. I'd done the Johnny Carson show, Letterman show, all the different shows. I went on an all-star tour with Major League Baseball over to Japan. Right. I stayed on about half of that. And now the next year, they're telling me, even after the playoffs and the World Series, that my streak will continue. Oh, no. And so we were at 59 innings, and I gave up a run in the very first inning.
Yeah.
And
that's the end of that.
It was a painful run because the guy who got the base hit with 2 outs was Todd Benzinger, and he had played for like the Kansas City Royals the year before. And he said, I don't know what the big deal is about this Hershiser guy. He's just another pretty right-hander.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy
should have hit him.
We ended up, maybe I have to go back and research that.
Yeah, that's funny.
We're not allowed to do that nowadays.
No,
it's too close a fraternity.
Right. So here's something I didn't know until I went deep into the research. That '88 was obviously a huge historic year for you, for the team, but you started off the '88 spring training in a very auspicious way, right?
Yeah.
With an appendectomy during spring training?
I was playing golf at LA Country Club with one of the members that invited me out, and we're on the 18th hole, and I'm hitting like an 8-iron into the green. I hit the shot. I think it's going to be on there, but I don't even see where it lands because I just collapsed down onto the fairway, and the pain from the appendectomy the appendix was starting to rupture or something. Yeah. So I drove myself home, was not in very good shape. My wife wasn't even home. I was wrapped around the toilet, just throwing up, and they got me to an ambulance, got me to the hospital. And I heard, the only thing I remember about the hospital is when I was on the gurney, that people are like, that's Orel Hershiser. That's Orel Hershiser.
Did I ask him for an autograph?
So we had the emergency appendectomy.
And this was like in February, or
this is a week
January?
before spring
Oh my
training
God,
starts. A
that's
week.
crazy.
So they couldn't find me after the surgery because I asked them after the surgery, can I rip the scar open? They go, no, it's very clean. We got it out. You got your stitches.
Yeah.
It's only going to feel like it pulls a little bit. I said, so you didn't take any muscle down? Everything's fine. They go, yeah, it's fine. So they were looking for me because I had taken my IV pole and was doing the stairs to get my cardio in.
Oh, my God.
And then we
Once
went
a
to
bulldog, always a bulldog.
We went to spring training, or once you're crazy, you're always crazy. We went to spring training, and I wanted to throw batting practice the very first day because we had gotten Gibson.
That's
we got
crazy.
Alfredo Griffin, we got Jay Howell, we got the team. Looks like we got a chance to win, and I didn't want to be the problem child.
Yeah.
And they said, you get through one workout, and we'll let you throw BP the next day. And that's what I was on the mound day 2 at spring training with about 8 days prior had an appendectomy.
That would never happen today, would it? They'd be. I mean, you get a hangnail now. You're out for 6 weeks.
Oh, come on. I think, you know what? I think the athletes are the same or even better because of all the technology and things around them, but they're called on to do different things.
Yeah.
They're called on to do
No, I
different
get you.
stuff.
So let's talk about '88. You already touched on breaking Don Drysdale's 59 consecutive scoreless innings.
Yeah.
NLCS MVP, Cy Young Award right over here. And then you get the Sport Magazine World Series MVP.
Yeah.
Right? Which, by the way, was sponsored by Sport Magazine. That's why it was called that.
Right.
Let's talk about that ceremony. It was in New York, right? And they gave you a car, and like, what was that whole scene like?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
You know what was really cool in New York, when you walk the streets or you happen to be in a car and you keep the windows down for a reason or whatever, the New Yorkers yell at you. You know, they yell at you. And some of it was positive and a lot of it was negative because we beat the Mets to get to that ceremony and to get to that car and to get to that time with Sport Magazine. It was, you know, it's such a blur to me.
Yeah.
I am such a present tense, in the moment person that when people ask me about history or then, I can capture the feelings, but the specific events of, you know, a photo session, like you would say, or something, an interview or something that's went on, it's really hard to remember because it's like, you know, this is what I'm doing and I've got to be ready for tomorrow, and tomorrow is what we're doing, and here I am right now. My old memory is sometimes pretty blurry.
Well, that's why photographers were invented, because we preserve those memories for you, and they go up on walls and live in magazines.
Did you have that thing where they went poof? You know?
Almost.
Okay.
Yeah, watch the birdie, right?
Oh, I remember that phrase.
So, Orel, another thing I didn't know, I should have known this, but are you still the only player to have won the MVP in both the NLCS and ALCS, which you did with Cleveland a few years later?
I think maybe the only pitcher for sure, and maybe maybe the only one that has done that.
That's amazing. I mean, really, if you think
it's pretty
about
rare.
Yeah.
And especially like when I got over to Cleveland, I was, you know, at almost retirement age.
Yeah. Right. And then from Cleveland, did you go to the Mets? Or what?
It was Mets in 99. Cleveland, 98 was the Giants. So 95, 96, 97, Cleveland.
Yeah.
98, the Giants. 99, the Mets. 2000, back to the Dodgers. And then they have this term in baseball called "you're released," and it's gentler than "you're fired."
Yeah,
because it's
throw
like
your stuff
it's
on
like
the
a
street.
bird that you've fixed back to health, and then they open your hands and you're released.
Yeah.
It's like, thank you very much, I'm released.
So you knew at that point your career was over as a player. I mean, there wasn't going to be like another sort of try.
No, I could have probably thought about doing it, but you're going to drag my family around, the kids, you know.
Sure.
In 2000, Quentin is 16 years old, you know, Jordan is 12, and it's like, it's time for dad to be home.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that transition. How old were you then in 2000?
In 2000, I was almost 42.
Right. Which is a little older
than
most players.
I mean,
right?
when I got to the big leagues, when you got to the big leagues, old was 35.
Yeah. Right.
But then I saw guys like Carl Lewis in the Olympics in his mid-30s, and I'm like, if he can run and do different things, you watch other Olympic athletes doing things in their mid-30s, it's like, I think I can go till 40.
Yeah.
And I made it to almost 42.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because we got a guy in this town, in L.A., LeBron James, is in his 23rd season and still going strong.
It's amazing, you know, I can see the muscles kind of hanging on and keeping those in shape, but the bones, you know, how brittle they can get. And so many guys get these little nagging injuries that in basketball, they're out for weeks or they're out for a year or two, or the Achilles snaps and their career's over. And it's amazing what he's done.
Yeah. And the fact that he still wants to do it and he still loves getting out there to play.
I love for the Lakers this year because he's really kind of changed roles. He's like the third option on offense. Right. He's really engaged on defense. They won 9 or 10 in a row when we're taping this. And I think they finally just lost a game, but they're actually playoff contenders now.
Yeah, it's amazing. I don't know how many more years he's got left. I know he wants to probably play with both his sons, so
that'll be interesting.
Maybe that'll happen. You remember when Gordie Howe came out of retirement like 50-something to play with both his boys? How incredible was that?
When I grew up in Southfield, Michigan for a few years, my dad was Mark and Marty Howe's Little League coach.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. Really? That's funny.
I got to see Gordie Howe come out to the few games.
Yeah, and you have a hockey background.
Yeah.
I think you and I had talked about this because you grew up a little bit in Ontario.
Yep.
And I heard you had a pretty decent slap shot. I don't know if that was right
pretty
or
good.
not.
I played defense on a regular shift. And I played left wing on the power play because I was really good at being dirty in front of the net.
Yeah, I grew up with hockey in the street in Brooklyn. We didn't have any rinks, but we played a lot.
Rollerblades were a great invention.
Oh,
for
that's
hockey.
great. We used to play on roller skates that attached to the bottom. I mean, this is ancient stuff.
I remember.
And then I came out here to go to Art Center, and rollerblades had just started.
Yeah.
So I went down to the beach, and I saw these guys are playing in the parking lot at Santa Monica. So I'm going to go buy some rollerblades and get out there with those guys. And at that point, I
made my first skateboard out of roller skates on the bottom of a piece of wood.
Yeah. But I didn't last 5 minutes with those guys because they would kill at me. But it was fun.
I went to a party when Luc Robitaille was there hosting it, and he went to the trunk of his car and he said, "Come on, guys, come on out." And he had like 25 pairs of rollerblades in his trunk with sticks and street balls and everything. And we were playing roller hockey with the Kings. It was unbelievable.
You remember when Luke came to the Kings as a rookie and could not speak English? He only spoke French. And he had to live with Marcel Dion.
Then he becomes a GM.
And GM, Hall of Famer, greatest scoring left wing in the history of hockey. So,
unbelievable.
So, Orel, you were a pretty decent hitter, as I remember. You have a silver slugger over there, which I didn't even realize that you had won.
Yeah.
Then the DH rule comes in, and of course it's only in the American League, which was nuts to begin with. Why they wouldn't just standardize it? Yeah. And now you're watching this guy Ohtani,
oh wow,
who is like a freak of nature. Let's be honest, right? I mean, you are literally, we all are living it, but you are there every day watching baseball history.
Yeah,
I mean, it's must be
one
incredible.
thing to be genetically blessed.
Yeah.
It's another thing to then work at the nth degree, and then to work so hard and to be such a perfectionist with both the offensive side and the defensive side with pitching, and to then stay healthy. I know he's had the Tommy John surgery because of the ligament, but that ligament is always going to probably blow with people that throw 95 and above.
Yeah.
So that, that barely made him human. But other than that, to watch him on a daily basis is really, really special. To watch him when he was an Angel and you're on the Dodgers or you're broadcasting for ESPN, it's one thing from a distance. It's another thing on a day-to-day basis. It's really marvelous.
It must be something. I mean, we
miraculous.
all grew up with Babe Ruth as like obviously a legend.
Right.
He only pitched and hit for 1 year, so I remember. And this guy's been doing it his whole career. It's unbelievable. And 50-50 at his size.
I think, we're talking about Babe Ruth like it was yesterday because he's legendary. I think that's the way they're going to talk about Ohtani, and I think Babe Ruth will actually kind of fade into the shadows a little bit once Ohtani is done. Yeah,
it's interesting because I'm seeing that a little bit with basketball. That Michael Jordan is like a mystical figure to this generation who never saw him play, obviously, and even Kobe is kind of a little bit mystical now.
Everybody's going to argue for their generation of a guy that they saw or that was their hero.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you transitioned to the broadcast booth.
Yep.
How soon after you retired did you go into broadcasting?
So it was a ways because I went about 3.5 years of being the pitching coach for the Texas Rangers and also in their front office. And I got to test the front office. I got to test the coaching vein. I got to interview for some other jobs around in baseball. But I really felt like it was going to be a lifestyle of every 2 to 3 to 4 years, you're probably going to get fired, or you're going to stay in an organization at a lower level than being able to rise all the way to the top. So if you rise all the way to the top on the field as a manager, or you rise all the way top in the front office as a baseball person, a general manager, or the president of the organization, if you don't end up winning world championships, you're probably going to be moving around a little bit. Very few people stay there 15, 20, 30 years in an organization like Tommy did. So I chose broadcasting after experiencing those other jobs because of lifestyle. I got to be part of my love still, which is baseball. I got to use my expertise, which hopefully was baseball, the industry I've been in. And then you really can't get fired from broadcasting if you're,
Unless you really
if
screw
you're
up.
really bad and you really start swearing on the air. The thing I found out about broadcasting is it's pretty easy the first 3 years or so because you played with most of the people on the field. So there's a lot less studying.
That's interesting.
So
Yeah.
after you get to about the 3-4 year mark, if you're still doing it on a national basis, you have to study a lot. You have to study an awful lot. And the theme at ESPN was you need to know more than the local fan. That is hard.
That's hard.
That's really hard. You're following your team every single day, and I'm a national broadcaster, and I'm going to do 3-year games this year, and I got to know more than you. And really, the more is usually current knowledge that you get from the players on the field or the managers and the coaches.
Yeah.
That's where you find your aha moments. But and then you talk to players as a broadcaster now for a long time. So broadcasting since, let's say, about 2004, 2005. Players are like, one of my things I'm going to do, or let's do like you, I'm going to be a broadcaster. and I open their eyes by saying, you know what? It's harder to be a broadcaster than it is to be a player. There's fewer of us in the stadium than there is of you. There's 52 players on the field with the 26-man rosters. There's, 4 or 5 coaches on every side and a manager. There's maybe 8, 10 broadcasters upstairs, guys. So if you're going to do it, you better start thinking about it now, and you better start figuring out who you're going to be and how you're going to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I love that you talked about preparation because as a professional athlete, obviously you had to prepare. You were known for your preparation. You studied hitters. It was like ingrained in you, probably from your youth.
Well, it was ingrained in me because I knew I wasn't as good as those guys on the field.
So
I didn't throw 95. I wasn't. I could palm a basketball with my shoulders. A concave chest guy, and I had some height. I had some flexibility. I had some arm speed, but it wasn't elite like everybody I thought on the field with me. So I'm like, I got to find a way to win another way.
Interesting. Yeah, because on the preparation side, I used to watch Chick Hearn before a game. And, people don't give Chick enough credit for being as prepared as he was. He had notes all over the place, all handwritten, little anecdotes. And I don't know if Vin did the same thing, Vin Scully.
Yeah.
But obviously you listened to Vin, and he must have influenced you in some way in the booth, right? I would think.
Yeah, I mean, a few different broadcasters for sure. Vin, he helped me a lot with interviews and how to hold an interview, how to transition from one subject to another, how to use the end of somebody's phrase or answer to use as your transition if you want to move to another topic so it seems seamless. Really, and that is not my body. The squeaks, my chair is squeaking. I promise I'm not that old.
It might be me. I don't know. Yeah.
But Al Michaels helped a lot.
Al Michaels still doing it at 80, whatever.
And
he
said, Orel, they're not going to care about the game until they care about the people. And so it personalized the games for me a little bit more on talking about something inside the stats or inside the person or how their venture was. Right. So those stories, you try and be a little bit more personal, not your own, but the person you're talking about.
And Vin obviously was the greatest at that. I mean, the stories he would tell were just unbelievable. And they seemed so off the cuff. Maybe they were, but it was just his
I think
nature.
he read like a book a day.
He's unbelievable.
And he was like a writer inside his head.
Yeah, what an honor to be in the same stadium with that guy. I
I've
crossed paths with him a few times, but it was just such amazing presence.
Even when I was a player, I used to sit in the booth, like in spring training when they'd be up there in the tower. And I was supposed to be at the game, so I was at the game, but I was in Vinny's booth and watching him prepare, watching him do the game, listening to him, watching what his eyes are doing. And he used to talk to his staff in the booth.
Yeah.
Like they were fans.
Yeah.
So he was telling a story to you, even
Right.
though he's broadcasting the game.
Crazy.
And I think it made it more personal for him.
Sure.
To like, I'm at a cocktail party, I'm talking to Boyd Robertson,
Right.
who was his stage manager,
Yeah,
or I'm
yeah.
talking to Mark, who was his cameraman, and he'd turn but have the microphone in the right spot,
Yeah.
and be talking to them.
Yeah. Incredible.
It was
And,
wonderful.
yeah,
I'm sure you were up there taking pictures of him
I
every
was,
once
and
in a while.
I remember one time in spring training that he actually sat on the roof. They had that little roof on
Yeah.
top of the broadcast booth, and I think he brought a mic up there and broadcast from the roof. I don't know why,
Yes.
but he just did.
That was his first game ever.
Yeah.
A college football game that they didn't have room for him in the booth, and he froze.
I heard about
And,
that.
and
yes.
he was up there doing the
That's
game,
right.
freezing, and never complained. And it was one of
Unbelievable.
the things that created his reputation to get other jobs at the beginning of his
Yeah.
career.
It's amazing how a broadcaster can have, for years, there was like voting in LA, like who was the most famous Laker?
Right.
And Chick Hearn always finished first.
Right, and Vinny would always finish. Who's
Isn't
on
that
your
amazing,
Mount
dude?
Rushmore of Dodgers?
Right.
Vin Scully.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Two more things I want to ask you about.
You're good.
Let's go back to '88. So it was the first time the Lakers won the NBA championship, which was in June,
Yeah.
and then the Dodgers won in October.
Right.
Right, and we did an event together, fundraiser for Legends of Sport at the Ice House in Pasadena.
Yeah.
Where you came, Jaime Hareen was there,
Yeah.
and then we had Byron Scott and Michael Cooper from the
Remember that?
'88
Yep.
Lakers. And I just sat back and listened to you guys banter back and forth because you guys were each other's best fans.
Right.
Like you were rooting for them, they were rooting
Oh,
for you.
yeah.
I mean, how great was that year?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. They won the world championship first, right?
Right.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then we come around. Magic, of course, Coop, all of them. James Worthy, I work alongside still at Spectrum Network
Yes.
all the time.
Yeah.
He's Big James, good
Yeah.
big game James.
Yeah.
It is it's so much fun when you see other heroes rooting for you. You go, wow, I guess I am okay.
I love it. And I love that the Dodgers, I guess all the teams now do themed nights for other teams in the city.
Yeah.
So you can go, of course, Kobe Bryant Day is always around 8/24.
Yeah.
And his family comes out, and his daughter threw out the first pitch last year, which was unbelievable.
Dodger ownership, Mark Walder,
Yes.
Stan Kasten, they've done a nice job not only with the Dodgers, but now they've branched into some of the media stations.
Yeah.
Now they're part owners or the full owners of the Lakers.
It's amazing.
So, the whole city is coming together because they've
Yeah.
done a fabulous job.
Yeah, that was a great event. And then, of course, it happened again in 2020, but it was in reverse.
Right.
Because both leagues were in the bubble.
Yeah.
So the Dodgers won their championship first, and then the Lakers won theirs,
Yeah.
which was kind of bizarre. We'll always remember that. So the last thing I have to ask you, and I probably asked you this before, but I don't remember the answer. The genesis of the nickname Bulldog. Okay, the story behind that with Tommy. Can you relate that?
Excuse me. I think, Tommy didn't think I was a Bulldog. He didn't think I was tough enough. He thought I esteemed the big league players that I was facing too much, that I tried to pick around the strike zone and got in a lot of hitters counts, 2-0, 2-1, 3-1. And so he wanted to give me a nickname that reminded me that he knew I was good enough and he wanted me to be tougher. And so the whole speech with Tommy in his office, me called into his office with my pitching coach, Ron Peranowski, was, if Dale Murphy comes to the plate and they say now pitching Orel Hershiser, Murphy can't wait. But from now on, when Dale Murphy comes to the plate, they're going to say now pitching for the Dodgers, Bulldog Hershiser. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So
They didn't really do that, did they?
no, and no, they didn't do it. But then he would say, if you pitch with my heart, if I could get a heart surgeon to carve out my heart and put it in your body, you'll be riding in Lear jets. And if we keep your heart in your body, you're going to be robbing church boxes.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. And he's like, he's like,
Oh, he's
my
in you,
face.
yeah.
Like, he's right here, and you can't wipe. No. You got to wait
You
till
can't
it's
blink.
over.
You
can't
can't do
blink. You can't everything. And so the only positive thing about it, other than getting a nickname, when you got a nickname from Tommy, it meant he believed in you.
Yeah.
Like Dave Anderson was Honeydew, and
Sure.
Fredo was Alfredo Griffin, and Franklin Stubbs was Cadillac, and so Mickey Hatcher was Hatch. But when he called you by a nickname, that meant he wanted you to be the Dodgers, and he believed in you.
Did you feel like you had like a transformation, when Kobe became the Black Mamba and the Mamba mentality? I mean, he was obsessed and relentless before that, but he just took on another level after that. That sort of
For me, it gave me focus.
Yeah,
and it got rid of my biggest weakness, which was my eyes. And so when all of a sudden I'm supposed to have a game face and I'm supposed to be a bulldog and I'm supposed to kind of have a frown, doing that brought my eyes and my peripheral vision went like this. And it actually helped me design what I did on the mound, because you could see me standing erect on the mound, looking down at my feet. And I would look at my feet, I would look at the dirt on the mound, I would look at the grass, I would look at the dirt at home plate, I would see my catcher's fingers, get the sign, and then get the glove. I didn't see the San Diego chicken. I didn't see Tommy cheering. I didn't see the on-deck hitter. I didn't see the vendor throwing peanuts. But before, when I was like this and wasn't called the Bulldog, I was up seeing all that stuff and then tried to focus on the target and the signal.
Yeah.
This, being the Bulldog, put me in this kind of mean state of reminding me. And in doing that, it kind of brought my eyes in, and it really helped me with my focus.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. You never told me that. Well, listen, man, it's been a pleasure to be in your attic, the Legends Attic,
thank you.
Out here in Claremont, California, folks. You got to come out and visit. It's got everything in here, every sport you can imagine, from trading cards.
We have a helmet room. We got jerseys. We got trading
trophies.
cards. We got paintings.
You got Dave Holbrook's incredible art
I'm
here.
sure you're going to interview him. That'll be great.
Incredible
what a good tease.
Stuff. So thanks, Orel. I appreciate it. Thanks for being a good friend and coming back on the Legends of Sport podcast. It's great to be in your house.
Right. Go Sport.
Let's go.
Well, it was a blast catching up with Orel on this episode. Big thanks to him for taking the time and for allowing us to record our interview in his Legends Attic. It's a great place, folks, filled with baseball and sports memorabilia, located in Claremont, California, which is not too far from anywhere in Southern California. Definitely you should plan to visit. Thanks to Dave and Chris there as well for rolling out the red carpet for us. Big thanks to our collaborators on this episode, Sport Magazine and PlayersTV. Please check out their links in our social media, as well as the link to Legends Attic. Thanks to our producer, Carlin Barker, and our editors, Sean Gosser and Addison Shao. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for this episode of the podcast. You know how thankful we are to all our loyal followers. Please tell all your friends to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Legends of Sport. And, of course, our Instagram at Legends of Sport, and my photography can be found on Instagram at ADB Photo Inc. Please check out the discount link in our social media to our good friends at Muggsy. We absolutely love Muggsy's clothes. And the discount link to our friends at You Should. The best way you should protect your skin for work, play, and everyday life. Thanks again, folks. We'll be back next week with another great episode of the Legends of Sport podcast.